Hi, this is Lynn Schnebley with Educating with Wisdom. And right off the bat, I would like to apologize to a person and ask them to please resend their information and their contact information to me. I thought when I saved it to something, I thought it would be saved to a device, and it was not. It was a little shocking. I received some things within the last 72 hours, and I received some other things, I believe, within the last 24 hours. And in order to protect the identity of that individual, I don't want to disclose too much about this, other than to apologize once more for not immediately seeing beyond it. It took me a few minutes after I did something and then went back to make sure it was saved after. No, it wasn't. And I cannot just retrieve this. So again, I think there's a high probability that you're going to see this and be able to resend it to me. And the Ambassador for Heaven's Creating and Protecting Goddesses and Archangels over Life. I mentioned before that when we look at when people come back and who they are and who the arch enemy is, it may not always be in the same sex that you thought you were going to be in. It's interesting. So when we see the picture of the blind god shooting an arrow at me, and we're looking at the Lost Book of Nostradamus, we may not be looking actually at a man. It could be, but it could also be a woman. And the reason why we say this is because my own mother crucified me. In Isaiah, in order for the Christ to have fulfilled everything, he had to have been abandoned by everybody. That did not happen to Jesus. All right? But with my cancer relatives, it happened. And their behavior was so bad when they had me institutionalized that Alan, the person who was my stalker, when he found, he listened to this and he looked at me and he said, I cannot believe she did that. Because he knew I was stalked myself. He knew this was happening. This was part of why we're having these discussions. Because I knew who he was and he knew who I was, and he knew that I was being stalked. So anyway, and other people, it was like, I can't believe your mother did that. And the fact of the matter is, my mother has been doing this my whole life. All right? And it is a problem of cancer with Leo. It's a really big problem with women. And I would go on to say that it would be a really big problem with Princess Diana, because even though I see her as the victim and the virginal victim and all those other things, there are attributes between Diana and my mother that are just a little too similar. But there's the whole issue of the Cronus and the sun. But there is a version of that found in the mother. And that mother is normally found in that fourth house, which is Cancer. And Apollo was originally in that fourth house, which is Cancer, who hides in a shell. And interestingly enough, Cancer used to look like more like a lobster, and then it morphed into something that looked more like a crab. But the actual sign of Cancer looks like a lobster, and this is what Nostradamus is telling us, and where it becomes broken. And when it happens to me is in Cancer in 2018, which is linked to Meghan Markle, is that breakoff point, because that's her marriage going in, and she's the second beast. I know that's an awful lot to handle. This is really going back to that person who understands these maternal relationships, because we have certain similar things that have been going on. And so again, I'm asking you to please resend that information. It would be very interesting and it would be very important moving forward as we talk about accountability and what's going to happen to your soul, for people like you have been monitoring me to hear what they sounded like. So what did she sound like on that day that I responded in a text message after she told me she had had 10 affairs? You've been monitoring me. It's a good idea for these people to hear these things. Okay. So let's go in and take a little look at Cancer for a moment so that you understand what it's not. And by the way, my daughter hides in her shell, and she's a Cancer too, right on that cusp with Leo. So let's come out of this. And again, I apologize to this person. This is what Cancer really looks like. Notice it. And I noticed in 2019 that this had to be renamed. So I renamed it the family, the mother, the father, however, and then the son and the daughters. And I realized, and Apollo was originally here, went into Leo with Augustine. All right, Emperor Augustine. And that's when that happened. But that's not his placement. And if we look at the issues going on with the Prime Minister in Canada, this is a third generation illegitimate set of children that are sitting in 10 Downing Street through adultery. So this is the whole Apolly, who's the heir issue going on here. This is what they say it looks like. If we just take a look at what the constellations all really look like in terms of outline, you can see that, you can see the scrolls, or you can see the twins, or you can see the snakes. The Sumerians believed that they were also snakes, the original. You can see this is the father. This could be a plow. This could also be a voice. It could be any series of things. A tuning fork. They're known for their music. This is clearly looking more like a lobster and less like the other. This Leo is actually a dog, or it's a female. Virgo could be a woman. Cancer is like the balances. Scorpio is like a question mark or an anchor. Pisces is the womb, or it's the flower. It is also, if we connect this here, you look at how they connected the dots all over the place. This is an easy connection. So we have the ovaries, we have the womb, you close this up, you have the chalice. That's really what it's going to be called. This is actually, could be an agriculturalist. It is a person. It could be any number of things. We're going with Pandora. This is a mountain, or it could be a cornucopia. This looks nothing like a horse and an individual. Sometimes it actually looks like an arc and a series of geometric signs, or a teapot. But this is clearly, you're going to see where Nostradamus has this right on. Let's go in and see this for Nostradamus. Let's come out of this. Oh, I don't know how to. Notice I'm closing out the Pisces, but that's because it's going to be the womb. We're changing this whole thing. And this is the Nazarene. The culmination of the Nazarene. So let's come in here. All right. He's telling you that this is going to change. This is actually the Zion, which is Carrion. The second half of the year, the moon is most dominant. Not in the first half of the moon. That's where it's the weakest. And my son is 7'11" and weighed 7 pounds 11 ounces. My daughter is 7'22". She weighed a pound more, and she was originally due 5 years to the date of his birthday when he was due. And my mother is 7'10", which is too much Leo. And this is the 12-12. This is the culmination of actually where the moon is the strongest, which brings you out into the cosmos. Now notice, I was trying to figure out why he has a lobster there, but he doesn't actually, it's not for the lobster. He has the same problem I'm having. And I get crucified here. That's where it says in Isaiah, when it talks about Jesus being, or what they have interpreted, the suffering servant, what's going to happen to him, he's not abandoned by everybody. This is Jupiter and Scorpio. This is the Meghan Markle. That's her birthday here. That's the end. And this happens during the period of time over the tree of life that is Cancer. And that's what he's telling you. And then their Cancer all gets broken. So my mother and my daughter do these things, and within 3 months, they are all in the hospital, and they have been broken since that time. This is really looking at, where is the blind god, the Apollo? and it's pertaining to the moon. Notice I'm tearing up all the scripture. This is Jupiter in Taurus. This is where it's beginning, and this is here. It gets interesting. Now, this is definitely G4S. It does definitely look like Apollo, but there is a dance that's going on between Cancer and Leo, and it's a really, really big problem. All right. So this lady, or man, because I think there's actually a combination of them who reached out to me. This is the Calamite, also for the Bulin. Please reach out again. You'll have to pick a different venue, but I would be very interested in that information. And thank you. I did try to keep you alive. Thanks.